This is the rigid K-45AF, standing for auto feed, pipe cleaning or drain cleaning tool. I'm not terribly fond of rigid products on the whole, but it's pretty much confirmed by anybody in the know that they've sort of cornered the drain cleaning market. And this particular machine is really nice because, one, it's small, it's light, you can handle it easy. It comes with a variety of attachments, and with this setup you can clean pipes from 3/4 all the way up to 2.5 inches. There's a 5/16 inch diameter steel or spring steel cable in it right now, and all you need to do is change that out to a 3/8 inch spring steel cable, and the 3/8 will go from 1 1/4 up to 2.5 inches. What's in it right now is for standard P-traps and for home use 3/4 up to 1.5 inches. The machine is driven by a 3.2 amp motor, and changing the heads on this machine is a little different than its bigger brothers, but pretty simple. Let me show you quickly here just the head arrangements. There is a piece here that depresses, and you simply, in this case I'll take a cutter head, simply slide it on and push this down, and it pops into place. This little handy tool right here is what you slide into this and depress the button again and it slides off. It's really that easy to interchange different heads. And why is that important? Because anytime that you're doing drain cleaning, if it's not something that you can get simply with these spring retrieval systems, like for instance what we have it on it right now, you always want to start with the smallest cutting tool possible and then work your way up to something larger. And then, of course, if you're just doing cleaning and descaling of metal pipes and stuff like that, these sorts of chain whip systems come into play. But again, the idea is to start small and work up. And hopefully all you just need to do is simply pull out a small bit of plug, hair plugs and bits of toilet paper, and you know what? If you have kids, some things you find in drains exceed your imagination. So, how easy is this machine to use? It is incredibly easy. There's no manual feeding on this. There's no pipes, or there's no cable whipping around. There's none of those scary things that originally, I don't know, if you've had to use the older machines you've experienced. You always got to wear gloves when using this because they're cable, but I'm just demoing it, so we're not using it in real world terms. But the short of it is, they say as long as you get the end of this within 6 inches of whatever hole you're going to get it into, you manually pull out enough cable to wedge it through the hole and get it at least a foot down into your drain that you're going to use. Personally, keep pushing until, I think, just keep going until there's a blockage or until you can't kind of manually do it anymore. And then once that's happened, you start using the auto feed function. It's pretty self-evident. This is forward, this is reverse. All you're doing when you hold this is you're pushing a set of roller bearings onto that coiled chain, and you're giving it a manual assist, you're giving it some resistance to push against. So let's go forward on this thing and you'll see what I mean. Right now it's disengaged. Forward, reverse. Neutral. This machine has an interesting function on it. They call it I don't remember what the directions call it. I always call it a clutch. And if you pull this backwards firmly, it is for going in reverse. Sometimes when you're trying to pull this cable out, it's a little difficult. And so when you're just holding it with this system, they give you this option of additional grip. So you pull it backwards and push reverse. And then this gives you really intense ability to pull backwards, relatively speaking. Otherwise, you operate the machine in this position all the time. One other key pointer, you do not use the reverse function on this machine to back out the cable. One might want to do that, but remember you're working with a spool and spring steel. And so you don't want to reverse the machine. You only want to use these manuals to do it. You only use reverse in a select sort of circumstances where this has bound down and you're going to try to back it off for a couple of seconds to see if somehow creating a little back tension in the cable, actually creating tension in the cable, will pop it free from whatever it's bound into. That is the only time you use the reverse button on this machine. Otherwise, everything is done with this, and if you really need to back out, you can do this. Last thing that you were just kind of saw, but is pretty self-evident, you can always manually feed this thing as well. You are not limited to this auto reverse or this forward and reverse system. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's a winner of a machine. I hope you don't have to use it, but at some point we've all had plugged drains, and so a pipe snake inevitably makes its way into homeowners or residential or commercial owners' lives. And if you do, give us a call. This is a really, really good machine, and I'm amazed at what the variety of things it will do. One last thing I wanted to touch base on, and that's the actual use of these auger bit heads that we didn't hit when we were kind of going through the video. And that is, what do you do when you actually hit the blockage? You know, the first instinct for a lot of people is, oh, well, give it a lot of force and ram it through, right? Well, actually, it's counterintuitive to that kind of thinking. What you really want to do is be thoughtful and slow. And so when you hit a blockage, you want to not use your forward or reverse. You simply just want to spin it in place and let your piece either pick up the debris or just work ever so carefully through the blockage. If you try to ram it in, what happens is that you set this into the blockage, and you'll snap a cable or have a lot of fuss getting it out. It's a nightmare. You can't see what's going on because it might be 20 feet away from you down a tube. So the key is, when you feel that blockage, just go ahead and hit your spring and let it spin for a minute. Because if you'll see on the end of it, it's whipping around and creating some motion and movement. Let that happen. And then after a minute of kind of working that real slow, butter it a little bit forward. And then do the same thing. The idea is to work your way through that blockage slowly, carefully, and in a way that you don't want to stay there for a half hour and wear a hole in the pipe, but you want to work through it, you know, within reason. I don't know, probably depending on the resistance, you know, anywhere a couple 5-10 seconds up to a half a minute. I don't know what's stuck in there. If it's hard plastic, it might be a half minute. If it's something else easy, it might be as quick as just 5-10 seconds. But take your time with it. Don't hit that blockage and ram it in there thinking, God dang it, that's going to fix the problem, and I'm pissed and I'm so glad to get this fixed and I want to do it fast. Take your time.